us in here, broadcast. All righty, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here this afternoon on our chamber chat today. My name is PJ Prunty. I am the president and CEO of the Greater Danbury Chamber of Commerce. We are excited to be joined by one of actually our newest members of the chamber, Dave Curran, who is the owner of Force here in our community. Dave, first off, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you taking time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Why don't you start off a little bio about yourself personally, and then if you can give us some insight into what Force is all about and the area of expertise that you guys have, and then we'll jump into some questions.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm David Curran. I go by Dave most of the time, except for when I'm in trouble, really. And I grew up in Danbury. I went to Danbury High. I graduated in 08. From there, I went off to Bentley up in the Boston area and worked for a software company for a few years after that. And I'm back in town, and I've been in town for about 3-4 years now. So it's good to be back and running a couple of businesses, and Force being one of them. And we've come a long way from where we started on the cleaning side of things, just from a definition of what does clean even mean.
Sure.
Especially in times of a pandemic. So yeah, that's what we're in right now. And Force is actually a home services company where we're offering anything from cleaning services to disinfecting and protecting, all the way through to repairs and remodels, painting, carpentry. We've got our home improvement license and all that stuff in line. But right now, the big focus is the cleaning side, both commercially and residentially. And we've recently teamed up with a chemical that we're using and we're laying down that is it's a two-step process. That's a disinfectant followed by an antimicrobial coating. And that's where the biggest pickup has been since we got shut down basically in March and April.
Let's talk about, obviously a lot of the top of conversation right now is the reopening process. We're in through the separate phases now, still in phase 2. Phase 3 obviously was postponed indefinitely. Let's talk about some of the best practices for reopening businesses here. Can you give some insight into the members here that can help them in that process?
Yeah. So you're responsible for your space, but you're susceptible to the individuals that come inside, right? So it's very tricky. And the best things that you can do are require masks inside. Hand health is huge. Hand sanitizer, if you can have it hanging from the wall with a touchless delivery, that's ideal. But if you just have the things that you actually push down, that's okay as well, because the sanitizing happens after you get it into your hands anyway. But hand health is super, super important. Taking temperatures, not necessarily required everywhere, but we recommend it in all the plans that we're helping put together for reopening communities and public spaces and schools.
Right.
So the social distancing, the mask wearing, and the hand health, those are the 3 biggest things that you can control. Now, from the consumer side of things, you have a responsibility in this as well. If you don't feel well or you think that you're coming down with something, you've got to separate yourself. You have to stay home and use the resources around you to get things delivered to you. And I know PJ's got a lot of connections and businesses in the area that can help with that kind of stuff. So take advantage of those. If you know and you start to feel, hey, I might have a fever or I'm having a cough, do all of society kind of a favor and stay separated, stay away, and people will come to you. They will help you. There are services to get you through this.
Right.
I would say that's the biggest thing. So from the ownership side, hand health, masks, temperature, and then from the consumer side, just stay home if you're not feeling your best.
Yep, makes all the sense in the world. Let's talk about the EPA list. Can you explain to us what that is and And what is on that list?
Sure. So the EPA list, and it's just a list of disinfectants that are approved by the EPA to be used against the SARS-CoV-2, which is the source of COVID-19. So COVID-19 is a strain of the SARS-CoV-2.
Got it. Okay. I've seen some of the posting that you guys have been doing and talk about log 5 or 6 killing when disinfecting. What is that? What is that terminology? It's sort of
Really good
foreign
question.
to me. I'm sure
Yeah.
many others as well too. But what is the meat behind that?
It's a very technical term
Yeah.
for the numbers that you'll see posted on labels. So some labels will say 99%. Some will say 99.9%.
Sure.
So 99% is a 2-log kill. 99 or reduction, sorry. 99.9% is a 3-log reduction. 0.99 is 4-log, and then 0.999 is 5-log. And what that means is you have these colony forming units that can be on a surface, any surface really. And that's where bacteria and other pathogens live. And the math is based on a surface area having 1 million CFUs, or these colony forming units. And the log kill means that over a period of, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes, how much of those colony forming units are left on the surface. So a 5-log kill gets you all the way down to only 10 units left. A 6-log kill would get you down to 1. So 1 out of 1 million units. So that's what that means. So it's 99.999 or 99.9999%. That's what the difference between the log kills or the log reduction is.
Gotcha. Okay, makes sense. There's been a lot of discussion, obviously, about the vaccine and what the hope or the expectations are in terms of when it would become out there and effective, et cetera. Let's just say, best case scenario, it comes in early 2021, which again, really tough to tell at this point. Vaccine comes out, herd immunity built. Do we need to worry anymore about the disinfecting and all that?
Yeah, I mean, sure. Having the vaccine is huge, right? But there's another side of it where there are some people who don't get vaccines.
Yep.
Vaccines aren't effective 100% of the time. So yes, we're waiting and we're hoping on a vaccine, but it also doesn't eliminate the regular flu and pneumonia, or this would be one vaccine specific to COVID-19. So it doesn't really eliminate the need for keeping a space clean. And vaccines never have and they never will. I hope that we get one soon and we can get to the source of this COVID-19, but it doesn't change the need for having a clean and safe work environment or even home environment.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. It's good advice. It's always good to be diligent with cleanly workspace and home. Another thing I've seen on your guys' social media is the fogging, right? With disinfectant. Mm-hmm. Do you suggest and encourage your clients to use that practice? And can you give us some examples of where you've done that so far locally, if you're able to? I'm not sure if you can disclose that. I'm not, I don't know what the privacy are and whatnot.
Actually, question back to you is, I don't know if you want me to call certain companies out or but let me try and answer your question.
Yeah, no, you can. And look, I think you can. Candidly, I think it would nothing but positive, right? It's
yeah, true.
They're being diligent in taking precautions for their clients and customers.
All right, cool. So with the fogging, there's a distinction that needs to be made between fogging and electrostatic spraying. Fogging is what you'll typically see pesticides get sprayed with outside.
Okay.
And it's simply a way to deliver the solution. The only problem with fogging is that you're using way more solution that you need to. And if you're doing it inside, you could potentially be creating an asthmatic environment. So with fogging, you just have to be incredibly careful with how much you're using. And that's tough to regulate because you're not guaranteed that the solution is binding to all of your surfaces. So you want to make sure you use enough. And I totally get that. But electrostatic spraying has really solved that problem. And electrostatic spraying uses 16 less 16 times less solution than fogging would. And the big difference is that as the solution emits, it's charged. So it's actually going and searching for a surface. So picture a light bulb. And if you were to take a spray bottle and spray it, you'd only cover the front part of the light bulb.
Sure.
But with electrostatic spraying, what happens is here's the light bulb and you spray and it will adhere to here, but because it's charged, it's going to go by it and go and grab the back end as well because it's charged and it's looking for a surface.
Sure.
That's the difference, the main difference between the fogging and the electrostatic spraying. It's not that fogging is ineffective. It's just that there are side effects to overfogging, and it's very easy to overfog.
Got it. Okay. And let's talk about the SD Labs. How do those products work for both?
Sure. So SD Labs, I'm going to rewind a little bit and go back to February. And we were watching this all break out in China. And we could kind of see the minute it hit Italy the way it did, that this was probably not going to stay contained, because it did stay relatively well contained for several weeks. And then Italy exploded, and that was kind of the impetus for us to say, oh boy, let's react to this. So we went out and we bought 2 electrostatic sprayers. We did a little bit of research, found that the electrostatic spraying was the way to go. And so we got in line, waited 8 weeks for one from Clorox, and finally got one. But we still hadn't quite found the right set of products to use yet. We were still using the Clorox products at the time. And Clorox products, going back to the logs conversation,
Right.
That's a 3 log kill. So it's pretty good. It's 99.9%, but that still leaves a lot of bacteria on a surface. So we did some more research, and we compared quite a few chemicals. And it turns out our neighbors in Brookfield, and they're now in Newtown, had probably one of the best solutions out there that we could find. So we went through a process with them, and we met with them several times. We even took their CEO, Frank, to dinner, just so he could, set our minds at ease that we're not getting in bed with the wrong kind of chemical, that we're using something that A, will protect people, but B, has a proven track record, and C, isn't going to have any long-term negative effects. And we found that in the SDVO and the SD90 applications. The SDVO is the disinfectant, and that's what we put down first. And after we clean a space, we make sure all the surfaces are clear. We'll lay the SDVO and leave that for between 5 and 10 minutes, because when you lay disinfectant, you have to let it sit and do its job. If you were to spray Lysol or Clorox and wipe it away within 10 to 30 seconds, you're not really giving the solution the opportunity to break down the grime and everything that's actually on the surface. So when you go to wipe it away, you either have not wiped away everything, or you've taken what's still kind of embedded in the surface and you've just moved it or spread it. Gotcha. So with the solution, with the disinfectant solution, no matter which one you use, SD Labs or not, after application, you have to let it sit for a few minutes so that it can truly disinfect. And then once that process is done and has dried, that's when we go down with our SD90 and SD90 plus layers. And those are protective coatings that create a covalent bond onto the surface that we've just disinfected. And that is because it's bonded to a clean surface, you can't really eliminate it. It's hard to have that bond erode. And from that bond, it creates a table of carbon chains. So picture just like a grid of swords that are sticking up from the table or from your surface. And down at the bottom of the sword, near the base of the sword, near the handle, is an electrically and a charged particle, a neutron particle, that basically once a bacteria comes and hits the sword and it spears, it sends up an electric charge, and it kind of makes the bacteria explode, and it starts to break it down. So it's very cool, and there's videos that we can put up somewhere if people want to see it. but the technology is very cool and it's been in use for a while. And we feel like we've come across the right solution to try and, not just battle COVID-19 and get ahead of this resurgence, but I've got it in my house, in my apartment, in my sister's office, in her house, my grandmother's house, my parents' house. Like I've put the stuff down everywhere.
Right.
And I've noticed amazingly in my apartment, we have a couple of areas that accumulate dust really quickly, and they're accumulating dust at like a third, maybe a quarter of the rate.
Wow.
And we can see on the surface, like if we missed a little spot of solution. So, and I've got plenty here, so I just retreat, and that retreated spot, um, it shows crazy results. And we read readings from each of the surfaces that we treat using an ATP meter, which is this guy right here. And that just basically tells you what's on the surface and how clean is your surface. It's what health inspectors use when they go to measure the cleanliness of a restaurant. Same exact machine.
Gotcha. This is great. I didn't realize I was going to be, I think I'm back in the C wing of Danbury High giving my science lesson.
Yeah,
about. Right. That's excellent.
The Boyskis would be so proud.
There you go. Yep. I had both of them. Let's talk about one of the most talked about topic, which is the reopening of schools and what that's going to look like in the fall. Are there any guidelines or data that will help with that process of reopening schools? And now I've been on a couple of the calls with the Danbury Public Schools specifically. Really at the very beginning, what they talk about is just sort of their focus of cleanliness and make sure that that's very, very top of mind in all the decisions that they make. So any guidelines or data that you think it can help with that process?
Sure. Well, first off, I mean, there are several schools in Connecticut already that have gone with the SD products. Up in the Hartford area, SD Labs has had success with, they got them on a trial. The trial was successful, and so they are planning to use SD Labs for the reopening. Villanova's going to use it as a part of their reopening. Columbia has been using it for a little while now. So there's, and actually some big names that have been using it for a long time and have had the money to spend on the SD90 Plus product, which is a little more expensive, is the Chicago White Sox and the Arizona Diamondbacks. That actually, it's down in their stadiums. Yeah, so we're looking to really get this down in the Northeast as much as we can, because it actually has taken off. It was probably 5 or 6 years ago that it really had success. San Diego area, Arizona, just kind of that region. And I would say that the statistics or what we're really looking at when we're talking to the schools is that we're not just trying to protect the kids. As important as the kids are, there are adults in the building as well. So what this does is it's not just here to protect the children going to school and learning every day, but their teachers, the custodians, the administrators, who are walking through the building.
Sure.
And what is kind of crazy about the SD90 and the SD90 Plus product that we haven't come across otherwise yet is that the solution, the bonded solution, actually starts to envelop and fight against viral, not loads, but viral pathogens. So if you sneeze, mucus, a lot of other disinfectants or antimicrobial agents don't necessarily break that down because it's got a membrane around it. This stuff has been proven to break down those viral pathogens as well. So I would say the data is that even if someone does come in and they're asymptomatic, they may not even know that they have it. You've got a protective layer down so that if the next student who comes in after them, if the standard practice is for a kid to walk in, grab a Lysol wipe or whatever, a disinfecting wipe, walk to their desk and give it a wipe, that plus the solution that's already there, you've probably done a pretty good job of eliminating anything that could be on that surface for that next kid to use.
Right.
So that's, I would say that's where the strength in what we're doing lies.
Okay.
But it doesn't require you to come in and use sanitizer and really get in and scrape the grime every time. It's actually keeping it on the surface a little bit, and it's enveloping it and breaking it down so that all you have to do is come through with even a rag and water
Right.
and get it off the surface, because it wasn't able to get into the surface because you've got the SD90 down.
Interesting. Okay. Appreciate that. All right. So any other, thoughts or comments you want to wrap up with? I mean, how can some of the businesses and organizations in our community get a hold of you and your team
Sure. Yeah, you
to
can.
consult about?
Our website is www.force.work. That's the number 4 ce.work. And our phone number is 844-530-work. 844-530-9675. So that's how you can get us. If I don't answer, just leave us a message on the COVID voicemail, and I'll get back to you. I just missed like 3 or 4 calls already just in here. So yeah, the whole thing. Oh, I do want to make a point. We are not looking to replace or displace any existing cleaning services who are doing quality work. Keep your existing cleaners. We'll come in after them and we'll lay down the solution onto the surfaces that they've cleaned. If you come to us and we're the right fit for your cleaning for all of your needs, great. But we are not looking to replace anyone, especially in this time. That wouldn't be good. It's not a good look, and it's not good for, we all kind of have to be in this together right now, and cleaners are on the front lines, and we appreciate all of the other cleaning companies that are out there taking the risks and trying to keep everybody safe as best they can.
Absolutely.
And then one other thing we've been doing that's been working, and our clients have been really happy about it, is we're giving about 45 to 60 days to pay. So if you still haven't opened, and we did this in June and it worked really well, for all the services that we did in June, I didn't bill anyone until July 1st. And then those invoices had payment terms of 30 days. So we're actually, some clients have already paid us, but I'm not expecting cash from a lot of our June services for another 9 days.
Yeah.
And the whole idea there was, why make you lay out a solid amount of cash or even a small amount of cash before you've even been able to reopen and regenerate some of that cash flow, some of that revenue. So we're trying to give a period of time for you to get the service, reopen, and then come back to us and say, yes, we're happy. There's confidence in our space. Thank you so much. We'll see you in 90 days.
Yeah, no, that's great. Very generous. I'm sure much appreciated by by the clients.
Yeah. So far, so good. And I will say we have some real standouts out there, like Doug. And I know he's one of your members over
absolutely.
Danbury. His surfaces have so far set all of our records.
That's great.
Doug over at Pure Physique is really knocking it out of the park. And he showed me some of his processes that he's got his crews going through. And I mean, his low touch readings with this guy they've been insane. So he's doing a really good job.
That's great.
Of keeping his spot immaculate. And I got to give Richter Park a lot of credit too, because that's a tough one to manage. And they are disinfecting on the hour, maybe even the half hour. And the readings that have come from the bathrooms, the pro shop, really all the high touch points that we were worried about. And we took extra time to make sure that the coatings were really good and really strong on those areas. They've done a bang up job, and their readings have been really, really good. So big shout out to the crew over at Richter.
Excellent. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Well, Dave, thanks so much for your time and insight here. This was very informative. So I appreciate you taking time and keeping us posted on.
Yeah, I went to business school, but now I kind of feel like a scientist, which if you're a real scientist, that was a joke. So.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks again. And again, Force, you guys can reach out to Dave and his team. They'd be happy to work with you. Dave, thanks so much again. Appreciate you taking out some time. We'll be in touch. Take care.
Thanks.